5/17.
Bacon here.
Hunter here.
Johnson here.
Zalad here.
Keequam here.
Coin here.
Big present.
And how's the agenda look?
Great. I move we approve it.
Second.
I'd like one amendment though, down on pending business, maybe add C, call it the East EDA Road Overlay Project discussion.
To business.
Tell me where, say that again?
Under 8C, let's add East DDA Road Overlay Projects discussion.
I accept that amendment.
All in favor of approving the agenda with that amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. The agenda is approved. And how is the regular meeting minutes from June 19th looking to everybody?
Matches my recollection.
Got a motion?
I'll second.
Motion by Zalad, support by Bacon to approve the board minutes from June 19th. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion's carried. Item 5, public comment. Seeing nobody in the galley, might as well move on. Moving on to agenda item number 6, reports, accounts payable, approval for June. Walk us through there.
Good evening, everybody.
Evening.
Hello.
So in your agenda packet, accounts payable approvals. On page 4 of your agenda packet is the East DDA accounts payable listing. And we have invoices or checks actually to approve. To the Consumers Energy, their monthly electric bill, $542.70. MMI, which is the group that maintains the park benches and the surrounding grounds, in May and June service invoices, check in the amount of $1,008.00. Pleasant Time, the purchase of the flowers, the installation, watering, maintenance, installation occurring in May, water and maintenance May and June, totaling $7,029.50. And then Teal and Turf, they powered up the irrigation system in May, and then some service to that during the time period, $6,599.52 payment to them. And then the annual East DDA payment to the Union Township Fire Fund in the amount of $64,013. It's being paid this month, or in the month of June. Payment to Yo and Yo, they had their audit presentation last month, $300. Allie Barnes was in front of you at that meeting. And then the quarterly water bills to the Township Utility Fund in the amount of $3,290.54. The total East DDA accounts payable run was $83,927.22. That needs your approval tonight, and be happy to answer any questions you may have on the East EDA accounts payable before I go to the rest.
Just a quick explanation, maybe I'm a little slow on here. Voided check range on these utilities for the sprinklers out there, I mean, there's zero amounts. I mean, it seems it comes to nothing, but what's the reasoning behind?
I don't know specifically. I would presume there was some sort of administrative data entry error
Okay.
that created that.
Moving forward into the next quarter, what is the billing on the from the water department? Is that go by a quarter? So if we blow the lines out before the, say, third week of September, what's our date normally that we want to get the irrigation lines blown out in the fall?
I'm not sure exactly when we close that down. I want to say it's September, maybe October,
By the second week of September.
second week in
So
September.
that's, I knew it was kind of like an odd, so we need to
So
make
the
sure
billing is January, February, March, which there wouldn't have been any water
Yeah.
usage.
Yep.
And then April, May, June is covered in this billing here. So there'll be July, August, and some September presumably
Okay.
for the next billing.
Preferably before freeze up.
Yep, here.
Does that, company or that farm, do they water the flowers or are they automatically watered? Are
They
come-
water
They
them.
go along?
They go along and they water some of them. Some of them are automatically watered going up to light poles.
That's what I thought.
There are others where they water themselves, the large flower pots behind the park benches. I think the hanging baskets behind the park benches
Or pipe.
require manual watering as well.
Oh, okay.
So it's a combination of both.
Any more questions?
No, make a motion, we approve the bills, for the East EDA as presented.
I'll second.
Motion by Zalid, support by Coin to approve East EDA June payables. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carried.
And then on to the West DDA accounts payables on page 6 of your packet. We have a small refund, must have been a board review or a tax tribunal refund to a taxpayer of $139.29 on a tax bill that was within the downtown, the West DDA district. The annual payment that the West DDA makes to the Township Fire Fund, $45,642 even, is in your run. And then there is a check cut from the West DDA checking account that's subsequently deposited into the West DDA Debt Retirement Fund for eventual payment to the paying agent, the bond paying agent. So that check to effectuate that transfer is $272,650. That's being made this month as well. Once the check is actually cut out of the West Debt Retirement Fund to the paying agent, that'll be the last debt service payment for the West DDA. And then the West DDA share of the audit presentation of $300. So the total run for the West DDA is $318,731.29. That needs your approval, and again, I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
No, mortgage burning party, out in the parking lot afterwards. I don't know how large was that? I remember
I don't.
that long
That was
time
a long
ago.
time ago.
Yep. That basically that basically paid for all the water and sewer that's basically services what's the West DDA, so. Good project.
Got also a motion to do the 318.
Yes, it is.
Motion by
Support.
Zalid, support by Johnson. favor of paying the West EDA payables, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion's carried.
And then we do have one check in the West DDA geo debt checking account. That's the one I just referred to as the debt retirement fund. Check payable to U.S. Bank. We have not mailed that check yet. We need to deposit the transfer check so there's sufficient cash in the account. That debt service payment's due, I want to say August 1st or thereabouts. So we need your approval on that one as well.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Zal and support by Fig. Approve the GO debt payment of $275,000. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. And let's let the record show that was the last payment on that service.
Yep.
Congratulations.
Yep. And probably, and I'm assuming that Pat or Sherry is already on there, but obviously that's gonna impact our collections, I assume, on the next go-round, is that correct? With proposal
It will.
money?
We'll start seeing a reduction in tax increment revenue into the West DDA fund from two things. One, with the debt service being paid off, we'll no longer be able to capture school taxes.
Mhm.
And then secondarily, we can expect the library to request that we no longer capture library funds. They actually sent that letter about a year ago.
Yep.
It impacted the East DDA already,
Okay.
but we
Yeah, I thought we did the West.
we
one already, I guess.
continued to capture the West because we had debt service we were allowed to capture.
Yep.
So we wrote them back. We stopped capturing on the East, told them we'd continue to capture on the West until this debt service was paid. So whether or not they have to send us another letter or we just stop capturing is administrative, and we'll figure that out.
Okay.
The next item on the agenda is the receipt and file of the June financial reports, composed of two different types of reports, the budget to actual statements and then the balance sheet. And I'll go over the budget to actual reports first. For the East EDA, that begins on page 8 of your agenda packet. Really the only item of note, I've mentioned in the last couple meetings that we have not yet booked the tax increment revenue into the fund. Well, we've done that now. We've gone through that exercise, that reconciliation and accounting exercise, so we're able to book $395,403.52 of tax increment revenue, and that's slightly above our budget that we had estimated of $387,500. So we now see that in the budget to actual report, and we'll also see that reflected in the balance sheet in a moment. No other real comments on the revenue. Interest income continues to exceed the budget because of the higher interest rates that are been going on this year. In terms of the expenses on the report, I don't note anything extraordinary. They're the operating expenses. The only difference between last month and this month would have been the accounts payables that you just approved a few moments ago that are reflected in this report as well. For instance, you see the fire protection year-to-date expense of $64,013 now reflected as an actual expense in your report. Coincides with the check you just approved, the payment you just approved a few minutes ago. So I don't have any other comments on this fund, and but happy to answer any questions you may have on the East DDA budget actual report.
It's good to me.
Then moving on to the west. Again, it's a similar story. We have booked the tax increment revenue for fiscal year 2018, $601,336.22. That is 122% of the budget. And I'm still in the process of trying to get a good answer for why that's so much higher than the budget. I think it's a combination of maybe a low budget number that we had and some development that's gone on in the area. But until I can speak better to that, that's all I have at this point. I will send out an email or include it in next month's report as to why it's so much higher than the budget. The expenses, again, are just the normal operating expenses. The checks that you approved earlier tonight are reflected in this report. I will note again, as I did last month, that we still have not received, or at least as of this month's reporting, any grass cutting invoices. I'll check to see if we've actually received any yet that we're in the process of paying. Otherwise, I'll get on the phone with them and ask them if they're interested in getting paid for it, because we know they've been cutting grass for a while now.
Who do we get the service from? Is it Wilson?
Wilson, that's it. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
That's all right.
Wilson Longfield. Drew a blank. Any questions on the West DDA budget actual report?
Questions, comments?
Okay. And like I said, I will get you an explanation on the tax revenue. Then the last budget actual report in your packet is the West DDA GO Debt Service Fund. I will note that in this report, you do not see the check that has been cut. And that has to do with us needing to deposit the check, the transfer check, and then actually getting the accounts payable check. Although you approved it, it's not reflected in this report. It'll be reflected in July. If we didn't do it that way, then we'd have a negative cash position in the fund, and we don't want that either. So, any questions on the West DDA GO Debt Service Fund? If not, moving over to the balance sheet reports. They begin on page 12 of your agenda packet with the East DDA balance sheet. Just note the ending fund balance is $1,388,597.78. That is an increase from the prior months because we've now booked the tax increment revenue that I mentioned a few moments ago. So generally speaking, the fund balance in the East DDA is approximately $390,000 higher than it was a month ago with the booking of the tax revenue. I will also note that a good chunk of that fund balance has been committed with the contracts that you've approved, either as it relates to water and sewer projects that the East DDA is helping fund, and or any road project contracts that might have been executed already this year. The next balance sheet report is on page 13. That's the West DDA The fund balance in the West EDA fund is slightly over $1 million, $1,023,928.77. And again, that includes the approximately $600,000 of tax revenue that came in during the month. So this fund balance last month would have been closer to $750,000. And again, part of this is already committed, if you will, via contracts that have been executed. And then the final balance sheet is the DDA debt service fund. That fund balance after the payment is reflected to U.S. Bank for the final debt service. This fund balance will go to zero. Currently it has $3,300 and some odd dollars in it. That will go to zero and that fund will be closed out. Any questions you may have on any of the three balance sheets? And that's a receive and file, therefore no actions needed on that.
I appreciate that update. And looking at item C, I guess for the record, have the board expiration dates spreadsheet for your review. This one's all boards, I see.
Yeah, it's all the boards. That's just informational, so that we include this in all the board agenda packets so that everyone's aware of when vacancies may be occurring on other boards. And I believe as of now, all the board positions have been filled. I will note that last month, the Union Township Board of Trustees named Township Clerk Lisa Cody to the Planning Commission as the Board of Trustees representative. And so that position had gone vacant for a while since Trustee Worley had resigned his Planning Commission. So it's good that that's now been filled.
Okay. Comments on that, anybody? Good. Moving on to item 7, new business.
So before you tonight, item 7A, it's page 17 of your agenda packet. The administration is requesting approval of a proposal from Goodrow Associates in the amount of $11,627.00 for the completion of what we're referring to as the Jamison Park Planning and Design Master Plan. The EDA had approved Jamison Park as improvements as part of the project list that the authority approved back in February of earlier this year, February of 18. Project included Jamison Park improvements in the amount of $50,000. At a subsequent meeting of the authority, it was requested that the administration look into having a professional firm prepare a planning and design master plan, if you will. Goodrow was on board with the township. We had gone through a competitive process for architect and design work for the Isabella Water Administration building remodeling. So we'd gone through a competitive process, and Goodrow was the low responsive bidder for that project. So we thought, well, rather than send this project for Jamison Park out to bid again, we would request Goodrow to give us a quote to do design, planning, some architectural work, if you will, on Jameson Park. So we met with them, we asked them to produce such a report. They gave us a proposal that would consist of generating a general layout of the site, drawings that would deal with the interior of Jameson Hall, the site in its entirety, the whole park, if you will, and the exterior to Jameson Hall. And so they would scope out work that would include new flooring, painting in terms of the interior of the building, replacing windows in the hall, replacing doors, updating the kitchen. And they'd present budget numbers that we might be able to utilize, some prioritization of the various aspects of the projects. All of this in total will clearly exceed $50,000. And then in terms of the overall site, looking at replacing, what would it cost to replace the chain link fence along the front of the property, looking to replace the safety barriers and the guardrail that's around the road, new signs, landscaping for the park, screening the HVAC units on the west side of the building, what if any new playground equipment might make sense out there, re-roofing, repainting the dugouts of the baseball facility, replacing the gate that goes out in front of the entrance to the park, and then also presenting some renderings and design recommendations for the exterior of Jameson Park. I think when we were here last talking about Jameson Park, we mentioned some possible murals going up in conjunction with Art Reach, and I think that kind of triggered the board's desire to see a more all-encompassing plan for what could be done to Jameson Park. So this is the proposal in front of you that would accomplish that, and the administration recommends that you approve this service agreement to complete this master plan. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have about it.
Will Goodrow still be involved in some of the finish work then? Or are they just in the planning?
They would just be doing planning, design, give us some budget estimates. They would not,
That's what I was gonna ask.
construction drawings, help with the bid process if it was large enough to need their help. But they would not be doing any of the work.
I like the scope and everything, but we kinda lost what I guess I was calling the building systems condition assessment by an architect and engineer, as in, like, building systems,
HVAC?
moisture barrier systems, meaning roof, shingles, siding, painting, caulking, flashing windows, doors. I mean, I'm sure she understands that. I mean, I'm thinking maybe, the rendering services for 1,800, I don't know, maybe she could perform some of this with the pretty pictures.
Yeah,
Probably don't
right.
need, but, and also,
That's
I
what they
think
do.
money's better spent, not just on moisture barrier system review, plumbing systems, as in the sinks, domestic, hot water type code, but I do like the fact she has the code research, building and fire she's gonna do, cause maybe that's gonna fall right in line. Electricity, circuits, all your wire, conduit, everything codes that. I mean, that'd be nice to have, and also the mechanical being the heating and cooling. Hate to repaint the whole thing and then have the furnace
Yes.
on its last leg right now without us knowing. So is there a way we can amend this or even maybe approve this and
Narrow the scope. Narrow
see
the
what we
scope
can
and
get
the-
for the
Yeah.
1800 for those building systems condition assessment along with the other stuff you have?
Well, let me try this and make sure I'm understanding. I think some of the things that were just mentioned are in here. You mentioned doors and windows, that's in here. And I'll turn to Ms. Smith in a moment. I do not have the proposal directly in front of me, but I do not believe that the proposal contemplated a review of things like moisture barriers, you know, the plumbing system, the HVAC, the roof, the electric. So I believe we would need to get back with them to add those items to the scope, which we're happy to do. We can have a discussion with them to see how much of that might be already included in their mind, but just not stated, if they're gonna be reviewing building codes and, you know, if things are up to code or not. Now that, you know, that question's often different. The electrical can be up to code, but, you know, does it have all the circuits you'd like to have and those kinds of things, but.
Yep.
Feels like we would need an inspector of some sort, like a real estate inspector, to come in and inspect everything to see what condition everything is in.
Well, I mean, we're gonna have better than that. We'll have an architect and an
Yeah.
engineer.
Well, yeah, is an architect and engineer though, do they really do the inspection of a furnace? I would think not.
Well, as part of that discussion, I think would be the plumbing and whatever would be needed, and I'm
Yep.
not in the field, but there are plumbing inspectors, electrical
Yes.
inspectors that exist at the county that provide that service to construction activity in the township. But I think I understand that you want a little bit more, I'll say a foundational piece to the, not just making it look better, but
Yep. Yep.
make sure that the
Right.
building's not about to fall down, that it's got good
Exactly.
block.
The roof has gotta be
you know,
replaced
the-
and.
The
yeah,
roof is.
leaking or
okay,
whatever.
right.
Like to think
And-
they've done some of that, but
She may have, I'm sure she walked it thoroughly to come up with the need to replace the window on the south side, the need to
Exactly.
replace two
Yep, the
doors.
doors,
So
yep.
she might be halfway there more already.
And I
Just need to
apologize, we
tweak
do
this
have the
a little bit.
proposal in the packet.
I don't see how we can approve.
So I guess what I would suggest is that you can do two things, I think. You could approve this agreement with the condition that we add the scope of work that you're describing.
Or wait a month.
Or wait a month.
let's
I-
wait a month.
Wait a month?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. okay.
Make a
Not a
motion
big deal.
to table item, what is this item C?
7A.
Motion by Gunning to table the subject matter.
Support.
by Aiken. You get that? That was Gunning and Bacon. All in favor of tabling it till next month, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. How you were guys, it was close.
Thank you. We'll get there.
Moving on to item 8, pending business.
There are no updates there. Although as I was walking in, I believe there was addendum to the
Yeah, I
agenda
wanna
that
talk-
might be 7B.
I'll talk about East EDA, these road overlay projects, but even before we go to that, even like the broadleaf control and herbicide, no update, but can we put like a time frame on these kind of things, so when we're going into the fall, we're ready to go? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, broadleaf is no later than, what, mid-October?
Right, or better, sooner.
Yeah, probably like September, late September, early October would be perfect target.
So maybe on the September meeting, we can have a
I
kind of
would
a
do it in August,
conclusive August?
Cause I mean, we gotta get somebody that's gotta do it. You wanna have somebody competent and
If you approve a contract service agreement in September, I would think they could get it. I mean, they'd be then approved for October. You're saying the application needs to be in
I mean,
October?
what happened to the 2,500, not to exceed 2,500 we approved on this?
You've approved money, we just haven't gone out and found a service provider yet.
Okay,
That was the issue last month, and
because we kind of rushed that, because we wanted to get this in for springtime.
And the sun
Now
came
Here
out.
we're going, here we're going in fall, let's try it again.
that's the best time to kill broadleaves anyway, is
Okay.
October.
Yep.
So if we get it in October, that would do a lot.
So you're thinking next meeting
No
then we'll
experience
have
of
some
this.
bids to approve?
Yeah, I
Think
would,
subcommittee?
Yeah.
Cutting
Yeah,
it
I
big?
yeah, I mean, it'd be, I think if we had it, cause I mean, if I understand, these lawn services are understaffed and their quality of their employees aren't necessarily as great as they have been because it's difficult finding people. So earlier we get somebody locked in, the better, I think.
Okay, so
Yep.
let's let the record show we'll be on placing the broadleaf controlled herbicide on the August agenda. Kind of same scenario with the benches and trash bins. That's been kicked along for, what, years now?
Well, a year.
A year?
About a year, yeah.
yeah, I'm not sure it's been quite a year,
So-
but, that, you have money budgeted for that. We have not done any work on securing the services or ordering, finding the benches or finding the trash bins. We have some rough pricing from looking at catalogs. That is also on your 18-19 project list, along with a lot of other projects. And I know this project was on the list before the list even existed. But I am just cautioning you that there are capacity constraints in terms of what the administration can manage, and we're, working on several things within the EDA right now.
Would that be something we'd wanna try to do a little subcommittee with 3-4 people?
Okay.
And try to come up with something?
What's a quorum? 7?
What's that?
What's the quorum?
7.
7? So it'd have to be 3. No
It'd be
more than
3.
3.
I mean, I'd be willing to pony up and be part of it.
So what are you trying to do, get new benches, is that what we're
Well,
trying to do?
on Pickard Street, the benches and the waste receptacles are in poor condition. The rusting out, the bench slats are broken in a lot of benches, so it's just replacing all those items.
Really nice benches, okay.
Yeah.
And what's the
Replacing all the
budget?
benches and all the trash receptacles that are behind the benches. I forget what the count is. I wanna say we have budgeted $50,000 for that. And that covered the number, I wanna say it's 20-some benches, maybe the same number of trash receptacles. But what we would well, what the task is identifying the exact bench and the exact,
Sure.
So we're kinda, again,
And
doing
then,
something I call a condition assessment. I think Rick Barrs actually
He walked
the
the
entire
He
thing
did an
and
audit,
went
yeah.
down
Great.
and
did.
inventoried every one.
and we decided to replace all of them.
Mhm.
So we just need to put out an RFP of sorts to secure the benches and then secure a contractor to install them, remove the old, install the new.
And pick out the
Can
new
help you,
ones.
Ben, with that.
And what?
And
They
pick
can
out the
help
new
with the
ones, I'm
benches.
assuming.
Right.
Or
That's
have you got
something that
those
I
picked
know.
out?
Okay.
Anybody else? For the three-person subcommittee?
What's that? You're gonna be in the subcommittee?
I don't know how good I'm, like Marty. I mean, you, I couldn't even get grass to grow.
A lot of
Marty, you wanna
that's-
be on the committee?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, so we got our three.
Got three.
Yep.
Yep.
Who's the third, I'm sorry?
I am.
Cheryl,
Marty,
Marty,
me.
and Ben.
And Ben,
Thank you.
you're welcome. I probably have some books right in my office. Benches.
And
Paving projects.
8C, we added the East EDA road overlay discussion. We're talking to a couple board members and myself. I talked to Pat Gaffney, and I think if we get him like the MOU Township Participation Agreement, like a draft, he'll receive it and work on it. Possibly we can get these going yet this year.
Any room in the schedule?
Yeah, those would be, they're all resurface.
Yep.
And when things fall apart someplace, you can always
hop on
Yeah,
an
yeah,
existing grade,
Overlay
yep.
can
That'd
be
be happening.
filler
What-
projects
what,
for trades.
because what's gonna happen is, I mean, the increases that we're seeing in asphalt cement are mind-boggling. I wouldn't guarantee that you could hold that number for another
next
year.
Yeah, okay. Nope, it's, and I think we all wanna get it done this year, and I'm not quite sure what the holdup is with the road commission. Usually when
I
you
guess-
offer throw money, they, they
Jump at it.
Free
respond,
money,
but
it doesn't take much to get them to sign on.
that's kinda what I thought we had, but obviously we gotta, something else has gotta happen because it hasn't worked today.
Is that something we can get a draft, like the MOU, the participation agreement?
A participation agreement needs to be executed. Traditionally, those are received from the road commission. And when we last met with the road commission, and as I reported to this board, they were unwilling at the time to commit to being able to do the road projects within the East EDA due to their production constraints, I'll call it, that were also related to how late in the year we would have signed participation agreements. And one of the reasons we were late in the year approving participation agreements is because we were having trouble confirming with the road commission why their pricing was so high in the participation agreements they sent us compared to the estimates that they provided us a couple months earlier. So we were trying to figure that out before we brought it back to the board. And then we met with them, the road commission, I want to say late May, maybe June. And they explained to us why the increases, so we were good there. And then we said, well, okay, great, we'll take this, we'll take these to our board now. And they said, well, we're not gonna be able to get the work done this year. And we said, well, you sure? And I also said, well, are there other townships that you could put further down on your list and move Union Township up on your list? That was met with some consternation by some people at the meeting, that I'd be advocating for Union Township above others. Be that as it may, the question was asked, and where we left it was the road commission was going to, that they understood our need to have these as to get done, you know, to the extent there was any way the road commission could figure out a way to get it in the production schedule. And if they could, that we would immediately bring a participation agreement, even if we had to call a special meeting, to the authority for them to execute so the road commission could go about getting the work done. To date, I have not received any participation agreements from them. I have not followed up with them since their last meeting to see if there have been any openings in their production schedule. Sounds like maybe you all, somebody on this authority, has had conversations that indicate there might be some space in their production schedule. So if there is, they can send us a participation agreement, and we'd call a special meeting of this body to approve it.
Because after talking to Pat, he was like expecting something from us. And so I don't know if that is our DDA board action motion we made for those.
I can clarify what Pat's thinking about. You can clarify with them, but we have a lot of people talking to them. You know, we get circular. But I'm just telling you.
Re-describe, just maybe in a brief memo, our projects, and we would like a participation agreement.
I'll reach out to the road commission again and indicate our desire to have these done if their production schedule allows. And if it does, I'll ask them for the participation agreements, which they always give to us. We don't know what their pricing is. We don't know what they're gonna charge us. And if they get that to us, then we'll call a special meeting as soon as we can get a special meeting. All we need is 5 available, so we'll get that turned around right away.
That'd be nice to have that on the next month's agenda.
Or, like I say, it's a special meeting.
Special
We
meeting,
have
better
it.
yet.
Better yet.
'Cause I guess
If they're that tight on production, I would assume that we would want to do a special meeting, because maybe it gets filled up again.
Because in the, it just doesn't seem like a lot of design.
Yeah, I don't know what the road commission
What the
production
bottleneck is.
And I thought that would be our most cost-effective route.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, we would have hired BB or Rowe or Wade Chum and knocked this thing out last.
I think they call them
December.
shovel-ready projects, so,
Well, they're their roads. They are their roads. They're not our roads. So I don't know if we could just decide on another vendor to pave them.
Well, we stay the
cut the middleman out.
since
we
they're
stay
not
the
our
course,
roads.
but
Yep.
send them a letter, maybe CC
I'll
myself.
follow up with them.
And when you send that email, CC me, and then we'll keep
Tag
the
team.
tag team it. Yep.
Yeah, appreciate your help.
And anything else really good of the order? No more comments? Call meeting adjourned, 6:06. And then we'll see everybody August 21st.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not sooner, yeah.
Yeah.